Sentence by Liza Charlesworth, illustrated by Doug Jones. One day, Kevin Crabtree had a great idea for a story, but when he sat down to write it, the very first sentence refused to behave. It ran and ran and ran. In fact, it ran right off the page and out of his bedroom. But Kevin had to get his thoughts down, so he just kept writing. A minute later, he heard a crash. Then his sister Darcy burst in. "What's the deal with that sentence?" she asked. "It ran through the kitchen and knocked over my cereal. Then it ran out of the open window." Kevin put down his pencil. "I don't know what's wrong with my story. My story idea is fantastic, but the first sentence just keeps going and going and going and going. I think I get the idea. Don't worry, I'll catch it," replied Darcy. "Who was the fastest runner in all of Charlesworth?" Darcy put on her running shoes and darted out the door. She passed a skateboarder and a biker and a bus. She huffed and puffed, but she just couldn't get that no-good, rotten run-on sentence. Along came Mrs. Smoodle and her dog, Lightning. "What's all the commotion?" she asked. "Kevin is writing a story, and his first sentence will not stop," yelled Darcy. "I tried to catch it, but it just keeps running." "Oh my, that's so rude," declared Miss Smoodle. "This sounds like a job for Lightning. After all, he's the fastest dog in all of Blathertown. He'll get that no-good, rotten run-on sentence, or his name's not Lightning Sweetie Pie Schmoopy Smoodle the Third." Then she pointed her finger at the sentence and commanded, "Fetch, boy." As expected, Lightning took off like a flash. He passed a jogger and a roller skater and a pizza delivery truck. But it was no use. He just couldn't catch up that no-good, rotten run-on sentence. Along came Cowboy Cal on his horse. "Howdy, partners. Why the long faces?" "Kevin is writing a story, and his first sentence keeps running, and not even Lightning can catch it," explained Mrs. Smoodle. "Why, I'll get that ordinary, disrespectful gaggle of words if it is the last thing I do." "Out of town," gulped Darcy. With no time to spare, the four of them hopped on Cowboy Cal's horse and galloped toward town square. By the time they arrived, everyone had scattered to the safety of their homes. Everyone but dear Miss Bartleby, watch out, they screamed. "It's Kevin's no-good, rotten run-on sentence." "Oh, that silly thing," she replied calmly. "I'll take care of it." Then she reached inside her purse and pulled out a red pencil. "A pencil," they exclaimed. That's no match for a no-good, rotten run-on sentence." Next, Miss Bartleby did an amazing thing. She pointed the pencil at the sentence and started editing. She broke it apart into smaller sentences. She added capital letters and commas and periods and question marks and even an exclamation mark or two. Then, before you knew it, that no-good, run-on sentence was no more. And in its place were dozens of clear, perfectly polite sentences, along with the start of a darn good story. "How'd you do that?" Darcy exclaimed. "Well, when a sentence keeps going and going, it becomes what is known as a run-on sentence. Run-on sentences are good sentences gone bad. Ideas get confused. Readers get lost. It's not a pretty sight, Mrs. Bartleby." She then returned the pencil to her purse, declaring, "My work here is done. Now let's go over and visit Kevin. I'd like to give him more grammar lesson." And that's exactly what she did. After that, Kevin never had a problem with a run-on sentence again, and his excellent story was published to rave reviews, with a great big dedication to dear Miss Bartleby. "I want you to write 2 sentences. One sentence that is a run-on sentence, and another one that's perfectly edited.